He challenged his father because of a curse on his people, betraying his family in search of the truth, awakening the evil behind the curse. Now they must race to save their people or die trying.
Hi, I'm Samuel, and welcome to Forbidden Issue 2, The Hunt, the third campaign, the biggest one yet, 32 pages of action and drama. We have guest artists, variant covers, homage covers, a graphic novel, Volume 1, you can collect the first 3 issues, a crossover pinup between Philip Russ's Tragedy and Forbidden, and so much more. Thank you for supporting this book that I've been working on for 20 years of my life. It is my passion project, and I am happy to share with you. Forbidden.
Welcome to Catch the Craze Podcast. I'm your host with the bullshit, the crazy bed, Vera, and I am with me, myself, and I. So today's just a one-on-one conversation with a buddy of mine, JD Calderon. We're going to be talking about the Oswald Chronicles, Volume 1, a trade paperback for the first time. We present, my first day and Passing Queens and Making Homes, issues 1 through 3. So before we start talking to JD Calderon, let's get it.
We are the only show for independents all around, giving you a platform to spread your word all over town. Catch the Craze is the place to promote to your fans with the dream of Medina and Sam the Crazy Man. Subscribe to our show and never miss an episode. It's time to get your meds, listen to us on the go. Updated every week, we never miss a day. Join the squad, come on in. It's time to catch the craze. If you are an independent, catch the craze. Making moves on your own, catch the craze. On your grind in the streets, catch the craze. Join the movement, catch the craze.
Yeah, George, we did it again. Come on now. Yeah, you want to do it. Catch the craze. What's up, y'all? This is a live episode. I only do this for friends. You know, I don't come on a Saturday with guests. I only do this for friends. You know, and JD's lucky I like him. He's been around the block for a minute. He's used to be at my printer. Back in the days at Crazy Comics, he was our printer, and we would print our comics with JD Calderon. And he has done 24 campaigns on Kickstarter. He has mastered the art of crowdfunding with his successful campaigns, the Oswald Chronicles, Tall Tales, a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to bring him on in just a few, but I want to remind everybody, Forbidden is on Kickstarter as well, so check it out. We're trying to do the impossible, and we're trying to get to 100 backers. The best we've ever done with our campaigns is 68, so I wonder if we can get to 100 backers, and we can only do that with you guys. The links are in the profile. The links to JD Calderon's campaigns in the profile, as well as Forbidden. But enough of that. We're going to bring JD Calderon in, but before we do, I do want to give props to the girls at Raging Cajun. So we're going to run to a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to bring in JD.
Hey there, this is Meredith Loughran with Ragin', and I wanted to let you know that we encourage and promote independent creators and their projects through organic interaction, consultations, and more. Visit Nita and me at RaginAVC.com for details and contact information. Hit the button.
All right, let's bring in one of the JDs because he's logged in twice. So let's see which one comes in. It might be JD Calderon and Calderon DJ. Who knows? We got one that's coming. I'll wait for, let's see, there's no camera on that one. Let's bring in the other one. I'm bringing in both. So I don't know if he knows how to use Zoom. And then I'll eliminate one. I don't know what he's done. You got two of you in the room, so I'm going to remove the other one. I don't think he knows how to use Zoom. Let's remove this one. All right, let's get this out of here. Remove. There it is. Welcome, JD Calderon. How's it going?
It's going well, man. It's going well. You know how it is, bro. Yeah.
That Zoom throws
And
us.
this morning, I'm a little more I'm caffeinated this morning, so I should be okay.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not
you
like
were
the other night.
horrible when I was a guest at your show. I was like, what the? Slurring his words. I was like, what's he saying?
I was tired, sir. I was tired.
Is that what it is? That's what it is? Yeah, so welcome, Nita, in the chat. JD Calderon, what brings you to the House of Craze?
Well, you know, brother, I mean, got another Kickstarter campaign rolling, got the Oswald Chronicles out there. We're doing the first volume of the first trade paperback featuring issues 1 through 4. Let me show those. So it's these guys. It's compiling these 4 issues. So it's My First Day, which is this one, right?
Yes.
And then it's Passy Queen and Making Homes, which is these 3 issues, the first 3 issues. This is the first volume. There'll be a second volume, hopefully soon. And there's a bunch of cool things up there. You can get one of these little guys. There's a little pin, if I could ever get up on screen, my camera.
Yeah.
Right? There's that. I got my T-shirt, by both images by the awesome Jade Gonzalez.
Man,
Right?
look at you on fire.
Yeah, man. I had to start moving ahead somewhere, right?
You're making us little guys look bad.
Oh, listen, we're all little guys. It's okay. It's okay.
So, I don't use StreamYard because it keeps on crashing. It's just not stable. Yeah, it's always never. If for some reason the audio's always acting up. I know his pins are tight. JD's mastered the art of merchandising and presentation. So for JD's been on this show as long as the show's been around. So he was acting up the other day. Said, "I think you've been on my show more than I've been on yours." Just wanted to let you know. You got me beat. All right.
I do.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Really?
Yes. When I type in JD Calderon on my computer, it's like.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
So before we even go into your campaign, you currently have 55 backers, 10 days to go. And
oh, that's good. It sounds like I picked up a backer just before I came on.
there you go. There you
I was
go.
at 54.
He's on the craze. Pledge.
Yes.
Walk us back to Oswald, the beginnings of Oswald. For anybody who doesn't even know who the Oswald Chronicles are.
Okay. The Oswald Chronicles started probably, 94 maybe, right? Maybe 93. It was 94, probably 94, 95.
Right.
Okay. So I was working during, I'll tell this story. Here we go.
Okay.
Daphne and I were walking, right? And we're walking. We live in New York City, so we're walking cross town. So we're walking from the east side to the west side. We were crossing Park Avenue, and on Park Avenue, as you know, there are these what they refer to as malls. Some people call them meridians. Some people call them, they just separate traffic.
Dividers. Yes.
Yeah, dividers. They separate north and southbound traffic on Park Avenue, right? And they're huge, right? On those things, there's they have a lawn and it's manicured. They put flowers and they put trees and they put all kinds of stuff. Sometimes they put up art assemblies. They put up all kinds of things there. So we're walking by, and they have this flower bed there, right?
Right.
And we're walking by, and I see some of the flowers and all messed up. And I look at it, and I said, "Wow, look at that!" I said, "There's probably some fairy who's really pissed off that some troll ate her flowers." Daphne looked at me like I was insane as usual.
Like he's been sipping on those mushrooms. But go ahead, yeah.
Right. And then she says, that's just a stupid idea. And I was just like, no, it's not. This would make a great story. And then she was like, and now she disputes this.
Right.
she disputes this. She says she did not call it stupid. I mean, look, I was there. I lived through this turmoil. I lived through this pain. So I know. But it's okay though, because from this pain came Oswald. So what happened is that night I started writing that story, and it was called the Park Avenue Mall War. So, and it featured Oswald, and it had Ordith and Diane. And initially, Oswald wasn't the main focus of attention, you know. But what happened was I had a second. There was another story I wanted to write called the Calcium Grog War, right? And it was about these two races. They were like these little tiny gremlin races that live in New York. Right. You know, one of them's they're hamsters. They live in Central Park, and then there was this other race called the Grogs, and they're tied together, but they're tied together through a certain type of magic that keeps them invisible from humanity. Okay, so but they were doing things to each other to kind of like mess that magic up and destroy each other.
Right.
So I was like, how am I going to tell this story? And I was like, oh, I know what I'll do. Is I had this character Oswald who I had telling the other story. I'll have him tell this story.
Right.
And then what happened was he got injected in that story, and then he learned magic, and then he just ended up taking over. So, you know, and the title was always the Oswald Chronicles because it was him. He was supposed to be my crypt keeper. So he was supposed to be telling all of these strange stories about all these fairies and all these ghosts and whatever was around him. And they would just come to him, and he would transcribe them. He was a scribe. He was a writer. He would just write all the stories down, and he would just, you know, that's what he would do. But then eventually, you know, he was like, nah, it's not enough. He threw down the pen and he said, no, this is my story. And he just took over, you know, and that's just how that worked. And, you know, and then I eventually came up with My First Day, which is his origin story, basically. It's like, you know, how he came to the realization that he is a regular mouse, but he noticed at some point during his youth that his brethren, his brothers and sisters, they weren't interested in watching television. You know, they weren't talking, you know, like they weren't repeating what they were hearing on the television. So he was like, I'm totally different. Becomes friends with a little girl. The little girl teaches him how to read. She teaches him how to write. She teaches him how to play the piano. She teaches him how to do mathematics. And she also gave him his bow tie and his name. So, you know, this little girl did a lot for him. The story is little girl, and then how he eventually moves on from that situation and then finds himself caught up in a war between orcs and kobolds and these children who are Jones and his sister Alicia, how they're caught up in this entire power struggle with this evil queen who has their father captured, and magically she's controlling him, and how she's looking to take over their kingdom and supplant them with the orcs. And it's all kinds of mess. And Oswald gets in there and he finds out that he has an affinity for magic because he gets a hold of an item. And and then that's the beginning of it. And then we're also introduced to Diane and Ordith and their orders and what they represent in Oswald's world. So,
right.
So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yes, I know. Yes, you're throwing out names. I'm like, who? So first of all, welcome, Pops. Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt. I'll be on his show on the 12th. So nice. And he says he says I do love people who put in the work, and JD does put in the work. And so where did the name Oswald come from?
You know, that's a good question. I don't know. I don't have an honest answer. Like I couldn't honestly answer that question. Like I didn't set out and say like, oh, you know, I couldn't just say like, you know, I just purposefully chose this name, right? Like right. It wasn't like that. It was like the other title I do, Tall Tales, right? That title, we kind of worked on it, right? Oswald, man, that one, I just think that one just came out of the ether. You know, it was just like boom, there it is, the Oswald Chronicles. You know, I guess I was just looking for. I said, what's a good name for a mouse? And I said, all right, let's try Oswald. You know.
Yes.
And many people had warned me that it was an unpopular name still, you know, because of Lee Harvey, right? And I was just like, you know, like that happened. I mean, literally, like at that point, it was like still 20, 30 years.
Right.
At that point, I was like, you know, that's ancient history. I think I could move on. It's a good name. So now the name is flipped and it's in many other places. But yeah, that's but the Oswald Chronicles, I think now where I got like using Chronicles, that probably came from the Chronicles of Amber or the Amber Chronicles. So that's Roger Zelazny, and like that was just me paying. One could say I was ripping them off, another could say I was paying homage.
Right.
I would like to think I was paying homage to one of my favorite writers.
Yes. That's what every Latino says from Queens. But so you throw out a lot of, obviously you're well read. You read a lot of in the industry. You read a lot of books and you follow a lot of the creatives. Thank you, Pops, for the credit. He says I was actually talking about both of you and Daphne. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Daphne and JD. I mean, power couple right there. But so. Is that the same philosophy that you use for all the other characters' names? That they just came to you, or was there any specific intention?
No, like a lot of the names I just like Ordith. It's just those are vowels and syllables that just came together and they said Ordith. That sounds good. That's how I come up with a lot of names, man. It's just like, you just sit there and you just start thinking. Sometimes I'll write out lists of just names.
Right, yes.
And then I'll just start popping, you'll start picking out names. Sometimes the thing is also like with the Oswald Chronicles, right? Like Tall Tales, I tend to stick with the more fantasy type names. You got Ravenwood, Pandora, Clea, Silvermane, Gabriel, Ralph. And then sometimes I like throwing in names like that, like Ralph. Right. So like in a parallel in the Oswald Chronicles, where I have Diane and I have Ordith. Ordith is a troll. Diane's is a fairy. The two of them are his guardians. They're assigned to him basically, and one represents light, one represents dark. One is always out during the daytime. The other one's always out at night. And the only time the two of them could really come together is at dusk, right? Dusk or dawn, early in the morning, right? When that sun is in twilight mode, when it's a little bit of both. But then I have other characters that come in, like I have Darian and I have Dauphin. Dauphin means Duke, I believe, in French, right? So I thought that was very interesting. I just like the sound of that word, Dauphin, right? So I was like, okay, so that's my character. And then he's a gnome and he's a warrior. He eventually appears in Oswald. He's a good friend. He ends up become very good friends. But then I have a what's called a Mar. That's a race that eventually Oswald becomes emperor of when he goes into Dream, and he ends up encountering this young sorcerer, right? And the young sorcerer's name is Pedro. Right. So once in a while, I like throwing in names like Pedro and Juan and Alex, just very simple. I don't want to say mundane, but just more commonplace names.
Right.
In there, especially with the more fantasy-oriented characters, I just think it's funny.
Right. And so when you started with Oswald, you started off as prose.
Yes. It started off with prose.
Right. So why the transition into comics?
Because I like the pain.
You crazy.
Why does anybody get into this?
Right.
It's the pain, right? No, well, what happened was I started in prose because at that time I was working professionally in the 90s, right? I was working as a professional writer. I was writing stuff for other people. So the artists that I would normally tap to do this stuff was busy because they were doing professional work. So I was like, okay, I need to keep myself busy. I was making a full-time living doing that. So I was just like, I got to keep myself busy. So I just kept writing, and I just started writing in prose just to start flexing that muscle. You got to start using it. So I started writing these things in prose, and I built up a body of work. And I don't know, probably about 15 years ago, I came into a little bit of a windfall of cash, right? And I took that cash and I started looking for people to do illustrations for my stories. And I had reached out to one artist, and it was Jay Gonzalez, and she had gotten back to me with a rate, and she said, oh, I could do comic pages for this rate. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I said, well, I have all this money, So, you know, instead of going on vacation or putting it to my retirement or maybe getting a car, I said, let's make a comic book, you know, because what else does a rational person do? Right? So I was just like, all right. So, you know, I what's funny is I didn't have a story prepped at the time. So I told her, I said, give me a couple of weeks. I'll write something and I'll get it to you. I remember I wrote this story and I was like, this is completely wrong, not what's needed. Because I had been writing prose so long, the story was very prose heavy.
Right.
So it was very thoughty and it just wasn't visual enough.
Right.
So I was like, okay, back to the drawing board. I ended up writing that story as a prose story eventually. But then I went back and I wrote Fallen Gods, which was the first story I ever did with her. And then and that ended up being 140 pages, you know? And even then I had, you know, it was a learning experience getting back in because I had made some mistakes when I was writing that story. When it was pointed out to me that I had an info dump right at the beginning of the story. And I was like, and I read it and I said, I don't have an info dump. And I read it, I was like, holy shit, I have an info dump. And I ended up literally ripping out 4, maybe 5 pages, you know, and reconstructing that story, that beginning portion to get rid of that.
Right.
You know, so I ended up doing that. So, you know, at the time, you know, my feelings were a little hurt, you know, because these guys, they kind of dogged on me. They were like, you know, it's like, let this mother flower, you know, did this, right? And I was like, sons of bitches, asshole, mother, you know, saying everything I could, right? But then when I read it, and I was like, oh, yeah, okay. Sometimes you got to listen, you know. So in the end, you know, I have to be grateful to that critique.
Yes.
You know, so it's important to once in a while listen to a critique and, you know, pay attention, you know, because it does hurt. You know, you're gonna sit there and your feelings are gonna be hurt and you're gonna be like SOBs and you're gonna hate them and I just want to punch somebody in the mouth and, you know, but, you know, sometimes you just got to sit back, be a little bit more introspective and just try to look at it from an outside view, you know, and it takes a while, but, you know, you get there. I know I did.
Right,
you know.
right. Yeah,
But
because pride gets in the way, right? I think sometimes, you know, we all like to think that what we put our heart and soul into is perfect. But remember, everything, there's always, I think, always getting a good a third party, a set of eyes on it that's not loyal to you, that has no ties to you, because that's potentially the consumer, right? And so if it makes sense to that person, then then your job is done. But if it's complicated and then you have to go back and say, at what point do I need to adjust? And that's the hard part. Nobody wants to go back and do any of that stuff. So you went into comics, and your first comic rendition of Oswald Chronicles, did you launch that on a crowdfunding campaign, or did you release it at comic shows?
That was that windfall that I had. I had a windfall of cash fall into my lap, and then right after that, when we were done with that series, I was out of cash, and I was like, okay. But then I was playing online poker at the time, and I was king of the $1 and $5 sit and goes, right? And I mean, I was king. So I built up some dough there, and I had cashed out a good portion of money from them, and I was like, okay. And I got that check, and it was the funniest thing because it was the most it was like the most generic check you could ever see. It was like it came in the most generic envelope. I opened it up. The check was like just boom, this money, this account, and that was it. It was nothing. At the time, I didn't know what was happening was these companies were using back channel corporations to funnel the money through. Oh. And that's why eventually the U.S. government came in and shut them all down. Thankfully, I pulled out a bulk of my cash, and I used that money to pay for, I think it was On the Wings of Deidre and The Light That Attracts. So I ended up paying those two off with that money. And then after that, I did my first Kickstarter, which was like, I don't know, 8 years ago, maybe.
So what was that first campaign like?
What was it like?
Yeah, how was it for you? Because
it was brutal. It was brutal. what I had done was I had put it up for. I had the website had been up for the webcomic had been up for I don't know a couple years at that point, and I was like, yeah, I got enough people watching it. I could I'll put up for 5,500. I'll make that easy. Man, that was 30 days of torture. That was 30 days of me, just beating the drum.
Did you just say 5,500?
Yeah, 5,500.
Oh man, good lord.
Yeah. And now, mind you, it was producing a little. It was a hardcover, a 6x9 hardcover, and it was I think 144 pages, and I had like two or three. No, I had a one shot. No, I had my first day. My first day, and On the Wings of Deidre, and a short and a prose story. So about 144 pages, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I think it was, I don't know, $25, $30. I don't remember what it was, but that was. But yeah, but it was 30 days of just every night, just like, please buy my book, please buy my book, please buy my book. And it was just me privately DMing everybody in the universe.
Wow.
On Facebook. It was terrible, just rough, terrible. It was so bad that it took me 2 years to do my second campaign.
Wow.
Okay, that's how bad it was because it was just too stressful. So
did you fund
the next one? Yeah, I funded.
Wow. How long did it take you to actually hit goal?
To the last day.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had a couple of people like drop. I had a couple people drop a lot of money in. Like I had one guy dropped in like $700.
Wow. Those are always the scary ones because you hope that when it's time to cash out that they still are there.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the big ticket items they don't cash out at the end. So you were very fortunate that they did.
Oh yeah. Well, that guy. All right. So hold on. There was two guys that dropped a lot of money. One of them was a friend who had gotten a big inheritance, and he was like, "I'll help you out." Pull me through in like $500. And then the other guy though, he just wanted to see the book succeed, but he had ordered a special tier that I had put up, and the tier was that I would write a story with his character in it, right? Now I warned everybody it might take 2 or 3 years for me to complete the story because of just the process that I did. Right. Now, full confession. The story's done. It's been done probably for a couple of years. It has yet to see the light of day printed. Because like I said, the process I use is slow. So I'm hopefully gonna have that sucker out next year. So I think from that, I've owed this guy this story for a good at least 10 years.
Oh, I would shoot you.
Well, the thing is though, is
hunting season.
Along with this story though came a lot of other stuff though. I promised him, like I had sent him original artwork that was for another tier that didn't fulfill. So I sent him some original artwork and I sent him some other stuff just to make it,
to massage the pain. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
But yeah, I wrote this story and I was just I got in touch with this guy a couple of years ago and he was just, oh, it's all right, whatever, And I'm I don't even know if this dude's alive. I gotta go back and look at it, and apologize to him.
Oh, good Lord.
And send him, I gotta send him the story. But there's a series of stories that I wrote called the Star Trek Tales. So there's 5 of them. The fourth one is on this Kickstarter campaign. And anyone who's interested, if you're interested in volumes 1, 2, and 3, they're also available as add-ons. So you can get them. And those are all prose illustrated by Daphne Lage. I have Jay Gonzalez, Aurelio Tillis. I have all these different artists on there. So with the 5th book, though, it'll be the last story in that series plus that story. So it'll have both of those in there. So that'll finally, those will finally come out, and I can at least expunge that guilt from my ledger.
Yes. Word of advice. Don't add your characters.
No, that was the first and last time I've ever done that. Yeah. So and what's funny is my friend who also put in a good chunk of change on that campaign. He also got that level, but I sent him the story because he wanted me to write a script for him, so I wrote it. And I said to him, I'm still waiting on it. Because it was for an Oswald script, so he's supposed to illustrate it. And I'm like, okay, I gave it to him 3-4 years ago. I'm still waiting on it. So
wow, nice. So you launched your first campaign, and since then, you've done 24.
Yes. Oh, okay. So let me continue with that.
Okay.
Right. So then I did the second campaign. It was 3,500. It wasn't as painful, but it was painful. Okay, but it was still, down to the wire. I was like, this sucks ass. So what I had done on the next campaign, I was like, screw it. I'm gonna put it at $500, and then whatever happens, happens. Okay. So that's what I've been doing for a minute. I was just like, and then I went from doing trades to doing just comic books.
Right.
Just standard comic books. And I was just like, because now the POD had gotten to a point where it looked good enough and it was inexpensive enough that you could do it and still make a little bit of a profit, and I can continue moving. First started doing the comic books, I was doing them myself. So I was ordering the printing from a place, but I had all the finishing equipment. So I would fold the cover. I would do them on cardstock covers. So I would score them, fold them, staple them, cut them, do everything. All that stuff I would do. So like, if you got some of the early stuff,
right?
I touched every one of those books.
Wow.
Every one of them.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's the reason why you've evolved as an indie creator, because you've done you've learned all those lessons.
Oh yeah. And then, like I said, from there on in, it's just been a series of just doing more and more comics, whether it be Tall Tales or the Oswald Chronicles. We've done an omnibus for the Tall Tales. We've done 2 trades, going on a 3rd trade soon, and just a lot of comics. It's just, but it's, as I like to say, fuel for the engine.
So in 2021, how many campaigns did you launch?
I don't know.
You don't remember?
I don't count them, bro.
You don't count. Because I did 5 this year, and it's exhausting. I did 5, and this is probably the most challenging one for me. I don't understand it, So I'm still trying to understand the game. But now you're providing this graphic novel to your fans that have picked up the individual floppies. So talk about that. And
right.
Do you find any differences between promoting, launching, running the campaigns for the floppies versus running the graphic novel?
Right. I think where I'm running like my last campaign where I was running the just the individual comics, I made about 4,200, 4,300, somewhere in that area, right? So I was like, yeah, we'll be able to crack 5 on this one because it's a trade. But the problem is that my fans who buy my comics have this story already. Right. So it's like, maybe they won't come on for it. You understand? Or a lot of them are not coming on for it because they already got it. So you have to, so now I have to try to build a new group of readers that buy trades. And it is a different community, or is a different group. You're going to have some that like to buy the individual comics. And the thing with the individual comics, I have sketch covers. I have foil covers. I have virgin covers. I don't have any of those things with the trade paperback, So that's the big difference that I'm finding, is just that you got to build that new community. And we saw that also with Tall Tales. Like, we would do a certain amount, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, well, more like 3,500 on Tall Tales, the comic books.
Right.
And then we moved over to the trades. We're like, oh, okay, we're struggling to get beyond this certain point. And it's because it is a different community. So yeah, so it's kind of interesting because I myself, as a reader, I tend to trade weight.
Right.
I'm one of those people. That's what I'm doing to you. I'm literally trade weighting you. I'm like, listen, I gotta wait till it does the trades. I can buy it.
I got the first volume available on my campaign. Stop acting up.
Really?
Yes. It's actually this is for issue 3 and also for volume 1 of the graphic novel.
okay.
Yeah, see, stop acting up.
So now I gotta look at it now. Right.
Wise
I just thought it was for the third issue.
No, it's both. So you get the third issue and the first volume, and the next campaign is going to be for the big compendium, the collected, the 200-page graphic novel with the floppies as well. So you can get all 3 issues plus, or you can get the graphic novel on this campaign. So so now, all right. So you've been very successful running your campaigns for Oswald Chronicles. And now you're doing the graphic novel. What are you doing differently to promote the graphic novel based on what you've learned from the challenges you face with trying to attract the new readers?
Right. Now, the thing is literally just trying to see, my issue is that I work a full-time job, so I have time to do like a lot of podcasts, you know, because that's where I think you can get a lot of traction. Right. So, you know, I'm happy I'm here. Thank you, sir.
That's what friends are for.
Thank you, sir.
I don't do this for everybody.
No, where's George?
George doesn't work on the weekends. You know that.
No, man, why that dude is always gold bricking.
Yeah. It's George is just Tuesday and Wednesdays. That's it.
Yeah, I was supposed to interview him 2 weeks ago. He called out sick. I was like, yo, bro, come on.
yeah. George is he's the weekends are him and his woman. He only works on Tuesdays and Wednesdays on the show. So when I do these outside of pocket, it's because of you're a friend of mine. That's it.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right, right. So I don't have a lot of time to like go on a lot of shows because I only have so much time, and I get out late from work. And honestly, I like to sleep. So you know, you get these morning shows.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah, some of the morning shows. Yeah, I got a morning show tomorrow. So you know, it's like yes, it's yeah, I know.
Yeah, so you know what I'm talking about. You know, you get on in the morning, like, oh man, I gotta go. 9 in the morning, like, you know, because I'm usually in bed about 3 in the morning, right? And you know, so you have to be on the show at 9 or 10. I'm like,
yeah,
it's always like that. But you know, you got to make those sacrifices. That's why
your audio's coming out.
They're just, yeah, man. And I'm like, I have all the respect in the world for those guys, you know, who do like, they're like on every podcast everywhere.
I'm trying to get on every podcast everywhere, but half of them don't even respond to my inquiry. You know, so I'll take. I take the crumbs that I can get.
But you're on some good shows. You were on the best show. You were just on the best show the other night.
Who was that? Critical Blast.
That guy, let me tell you something. That's a good show.
It is a good show. He's very structured show. It's a good show. I enjoyed being on his show. I'm going to be on Pops Van Zandt on Friday. I'll be on Indie Volt on Thursday. Tomorrow I'm going to be on Geeks Freaks, I believe it is. I was already on.
Those are awesome shows.
I was on your show. I was on. Yes, I was on Indie Comics Explained. I was on It Came for the Radio. Yeah. So yeah, there's a bunch of. I'll be on Gracia. Michael Gracia's Getting Tuned.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's Mark, yeah, my boy Marky Mark at the Funky Punch.
He'll be my co-host on Sunday.
Nice. Yeah, I'll probably want to stop in the following Sunday night on your show.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I'm doing. It's funny. Like I'm trying to reconfigure that show because I'm trying to figure like the last few shows I've had 9 people on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, and I'm trying to figure. I'm like, it's starting to feel like it's too much.
Yeah.
You know, because I ask one question, and 45 minutes later, we're like, okay, we're done with that one question.
Well, have you noticed when I was on your Talking Heads show, I call it the Talking Heads. I'm very bullet pointed. When you ask me a question,
I know.
I'm like 30 seconds, bomb. and then some guys are just like, ooh, that's the answer to the question. It's a thesis.
Yeah, some dudes are like, I mean, you know, it's what it is.
Yeah, you know, I try to answer it and keep it popping. And I'm like, you know, because I know that there's a lot of people. So I'm like, you know, I'm trying to be respectful of everybody's time. So when it comes to me, I'm like, boom, 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 next. And then next year, you know, it's like, and then it stops at one point, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna be here for a minute. Let me go make me some lasagna.
Yeah. Usually when I'm on I don't do it on my show, but when I'm on somebody else's show, it's a lot of, we're doing the, what is that? I don't know, like one of those game shows where you have all the people talking.
Yes.
Hollywood Squares.
Hollywood Squares,
right?
yes.
We're doing that. The Hollywood Squares show. I'm usually lettering. So you'll see me and I'll be like, it's funny because people are like, why does JD look so serious? Right? And it's because I'm lettering. I'm sitting there, I'm literally focused on lettering. I'm trying to figure stuff out and getting into squares and putting in the word balloons. Nice. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So, but yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm trying to figure out like whether or not I should limit it to 6 people.
6 is the right number. Beyond that, it's just you can't do an hour show with 9 people. It's gonna go past that hour. It's gonna go in a couple hours because
the show is 2 hours.
It is
from 7:30 to 9:30.
And it's just because most of the time you're sitting there, half-hour intervals until you get your next up. So I was like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's just like, okay, maybe I'll limit it to 6. And the other thing I'm trying to do also is I'm trying to bring on new heads, and I sometimes, I have a lot of people I've interviewed, and I like to have an open door policy where I want everybody to come on. But it's sometimes like if I got to bring on a new person, I got to bring on 2 new people. Like I just had somebody ask me, can they come in tomorrow? And I'm like, I already got 9.
Yeah.
And I don't, 10, 11, because I think the most I can get is 11 on StreamYard. But even then, I was like, it's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. It just looks like a lot of faces. It looks like tic-tac-toe. I'm like, what the heck?
Right, exactly. The tic-tac-toe board is just like.
Yeah.
And everybody's cool. You want to give everybody their time, but, and literally this person contacted me just before I signed on the last person.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I just got that person in. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah, I had a small press publishing team. The guy wanted to bring his whole squad on. And I was like, look, I said, you can bring 3 others with you, but that's the max because it's George and me as the host. I said, we don't want to ask questions to 6 people. I said, if you want to bring, the artist, the colorist, the letterer, that's fine. I said, but beyond that, we're not going to do it. And I'm, very clear. I said, if you want to be able to get your message across, I won't be able to do it because it's going to be, going down the line to everybody in your team. And so he just wound up just bringing his artist. And then we just scheduled the rest of his team down the road on future shows. Because, we try to, we don't have that platform where we're doing, the talking heads. We really want to talk about the creator. So when we have that many people, it's like the message gets lost in whatever they're trying to do. Then the time runs out because we're giving them 30 minutes. I was like, so if you bring 6 people, you only got 30 minutes. Are you gonna get your message across in those 30 minutes? He's like, oh, okay. So I try to.
If you're doing a tight one, like 30 minutes, that's a one-on-one. Because for like the Sunday show, okay. I want everybody to pop their campaigns. That's why I tell everybody, pop your campaigns. You're gonna do your intro, pop your campaign. Then I ask questions about the industry because that's what the show is really about. It's about the industry, discovering what people are doing, what they're doing, what they're thinking, so on and so forth. Right. The one-on-ones, that's where I'm trying to like get out the creator.
Yes.
That's why, like that show, I don't know if you ever noticed, is like I have a certain format to it. The first 30 minutes is just to talk about the creator. The next 15 minutes is to talk about your campaign. And then the next 15 minutes after that is when I ask all my crazy questions.
Right.
And that's the show.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
So let's go back to Oswald. 24, all 24 successfully funded.
Yeah.
Yes.
Amazingly enough.
Yes. So how throughout those years, 8 years on crowdfunding, how many new supporters of the Oswald Chronicles have you cultivated throughout that time?
I don't know. You make it sound like I'm organized. Sam, what the hell? I put this stuff out there, man. No, but there has been growth, though. And I know that because the campaigns, I've had more backers over and over again. So, and I have a lot of repeat backers. The people who've been with me, a lot of them have stayed and they keep coming back.
Right.
Sometimes they'll miss a couple campaigns and they'll contact me. They'll be like, look, I missed this campaign. I missed this campaign. can I get these books? Can I add these books on the side, and I'll just pay you extra? And I'm like, yes, and I'll just add on whatever, So I have people who campaigns come back on the fourth one and then be like, yo, I need all this other stuff.
Right.
So that's actually very cool, and I appreciate love all of them, all the Oswaldians. Come on, So, yeah, I mean, yeah, there've been new people. Definitely, I think my last campaign I had the largest. I've yet to crack 100. I'm at 96. That was the last one. So I'm trying to crack that 100. But like I said, it's tough because I don't have enough time to really go out there and campaign. Like do, every show. Like, I mean, there's some dudes that are doing 3-4 shows a day. You told me the other night, you did 3 shows in one day?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not time for that. if I can do 2 or 3 shows a week, I'm lucky. If I can do one show, in this case, I'm doing like 1 show, 2 shows a week.
Yeah.
If I'm lucky outside of my shows.
If I had it my way, I'd be on a show a day.
Right.
If I could have 30 podcasts that would have me on every day of the month of the campaign, I'd be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would probably be optimal.
Yeah.
But a lot of them have cross dates, so you end up doing 2 on one day, and then nothing the next day.
Yeah.
Right, and then you do 3 the next day, and then nothing for the next 2 days.
Yeah, Thursday was a pain in the rear. Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I'm racing because I had to run errands, and I'm racing back home. I was like, I got this one, and then I got so it's a little crazy. So, what are some of the perks on this campaign?
So, well, obviously you have the trade paperback. You have the pin, right? We're also into stretch goals. So I'm doing trading cards. I listen, guys. I like trading cards. If you want me to back your campaign, you might want to invest in getting trading cards.
I got trading cards.
There you go. So,
I got 5.
Okay. I got the T-shirt.
Nice.
I have the books. I have various levels with other things with where you can order complete sets of like the entire run. Where it's like I've mailed these things out to people, and it's literally a pile of books like that high, like that. It's crazy. These I think these are actually already out. Like I did 38 of these. So for the first 38 backers, you got like that one.
That's nice.
You got that one.
Is that holographic?
Yeah. The first one was a holograph.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, this one's just a circle. This one's another one. And everybody got this pin.
Nice.
So it was the first 38 backers. Everybody got that. So it was all the early bird stuff. So that's already gone. Like I said, the pin is available as an add-on. The T-shirt's available as an add-on. The levels with the T-shirts. I think I have one level where you can get some sketch covers, but it'll be on like a standard comic book.
Right.
You can get some of the what is it? Yeah, and then like I said, there's just other levels with other books. Like I have prose books available. I have a bunch of the other comics. You can mix and match, that sort of thing. So that's what's currently available.
I noticed that recently you've been promoting the Oswald Chronicles with this amazingly beautiful close-up image of Oswald's face. It's beautifully illustrated. It is just gorgeous. Have you considered changing your main image on the Kickstarter to that image? It's such a powerful. Daphne's been promoting it and posting that.
Yeah, I know. Daphne's been going out there. She's really promoting.
Yeah.
Depends which image you're talking about, because there's a couple.
It's a golden yellow. It's close up of his face. It's beautifully colored.
Is it? Is he wearing a crown?
It's a close up. I think so. It's just she just has a close up of him, and the coloring is just fantastic, and it's such an eye catching piece. I was like, that would be great on his main page.
I could definitely change that if I wanted. It's funny because hold on, just give me a second. I'm gonna disappear for a second.
Sure. This is Jeopardy.
Is it this one?
I believe so. I'll tell you right now. Hold on. I think so. Where's my phone? I just saw it. I think that's it. It's hard to, the colors look off though. Let me see.
Do it out.
I think that's it. Let me see. I'll show you right now. Here it is. No, well, this one right here. This is beautiful. Look at this. This is fantastic.
Oh, that one. Okay, yeah. What's funny is that is the same artist who did this.
This is a fantastic. Yeah, no, it's such a powerful image. I think it is stronger. While I like the collage, I think this one will just really pop and attract a lot more people. Because I mean, the way they did it, the coloring is fantastic. The rendering is beautiful. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. That's hold on, I forget his name here. But yeah, like I said, it's the same guy who illustrated this piece. Lariz Santos.
Yeah, because you work with like 5,000 people.
Yeah, I'm always looking for artists, man. I'm always out there. I'm always beating, because the problem is that, like, okay, I've approached Marvel and DC artists. I'm like, hey, can you draw, my character, right? And then the second they see it's a mouse, they start to panic. If I had asked them for like some big booby chick or some dude in spandex tights, no problem. But I show them this crazy looking mouse, they start to panic.
Right.
They're like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I get a lot of that because a lot of them are illustrators, right? There's a difference. There's illustrators, artists. All artists have a little bit of illustrator in them. All illustrators have a little bit of artists in them. So it's a little bit of a difference, right? But I need to find artists.
Right.
And those are the guys and gals that can really, bring Oswald to life. That's why I have Jay Gonzalez. She's one of this. This was Donnie Harijawa who did this.
Yeah, that one is working on the dragon, whatever that's just a fantastic piece.
Yeah. Currently working on Vampirella. Look at that. So I don't know if I'm gonna be able to afford another cover from him.
Yeah, because the tickets go up. That price tag goes up.
Tickets go up. I'm like, damn it. Although he is working for Dynamite, and I hear they don't pay much. So.
Yeah, but it's just, I think what happens is, yes, I agree with you, Nita. It's just that piece is dope. I think what happens is, when they're doing local undiscovered indies, they negotiate prices and they're flexible. The moment they get a name, just the name alone raises their stock, right? So now like, well, you know what? I just did Dynamite. Whether they paid them or not, it's like, I got that on my resume, so you're gonna have to up the ante. If they get another publisher, my stock just went up again. You know what I mean? And that creates that demand. Yeah. What's up, Ray Felix in the house?
What's up, Mr. Felix?
Yes, Nita says that's one of her favorite covers.
Thank you. It's one of my favorites.
I mean, one of the things is now with every cover, you provide art direction for the creatives.
Well, okay, let's say no.
So that you give them creative liberty? Do you give them a premise?
Right. Well, what I do is, like, let's say with Donnie, right? With the one on the top, the dragon. What I did was I sent him the issue.
Okay.
I sent him the comic and I said, base the cover on the comic. So he went in there, found the scene. This is a scene in the book. Boom. And he produced this image. With Jade, when she's doing covers, she usually provides me with like 3 separate layouts. And then I'll sit there and I'll be like, okay, I'll pick one, or a lot of the time it ends up being an amalgamation of like several portions of the cover. So I'll be like, okay, like I like this figure. I like this background. I like this figure. Let's try this. And then, I'll do that for her. So,
yeah.
So it just depends. Different artists work different ways. So, it's like Aurelio. I think he just sent me the layout and he was like, do you like this? And I was like, okay, fix this, fix that. And then we did those things. And I was like, you could just move forward from there.
Right.
So it just depends, yeah, like with Lariz, with this guy, the guy who did that other piece, I was like, give me Oswald, give me a crown. I sent him some images that we had and he took it and I was like, try to do this, try to show him a little bit of lightning, put a fur coat on him, and, we'll roll from there. And he did that. I really enjoyed that piece.
Yeah,
So-
Nita says some of them get stupid
though,
with
like-
it.
What?
She says some of them get stupid with it. I did trading cards for tops. And then Ray Felix is saying Oswald Chronicles is the bomb diggity.
Thank you, sir.
He
Thank you. I
just
appreciate that.
showed his age. I like the way you work it. No diggity.
Wow. Listen, bro, we're all a little bit on the wrong side of 40. So yeah.
Yeah, I know. I feel it when I'm walking up steps. I'm like, yo, what's up
Right.
with my legs? I gotta do some squats.
Yo, yeah, knees, yeah, my knees. Woof.
Yes.
But
So
yeah,
how
man,
many pages is this graphic novel?
120. So 120 pages. 120 pages. Next will be 120 pages, and then like I said, man, we'll be able to rock and roll. And I tell it. And here's the thing, also is, if you like to feed starving artists, this is your best opportunity, or one of the best, because I take none of the money, nothing. I may, admittedly, buy myself a slice of pizza. But that's pretty much it. But usually all the money goes back to the artist, whatever funds that's profit.
Right.
And I try to maximize the campaign so that I do maximize my profits, so that I can take that money and it just goes right back into the campaign. All of it just goes back into the campaign. So the more money I raise, the better it is, because then, the more it is. If you see me not working with a certain artist for a minute, like Donnie, because I haven't commissioned him in a couple of years, and it's primarily because I'm focusing that revenue in other directions.
Right.
The more revenue I have, the more artwork I can get. Because I'd love to commission him to do 3 or 4 more pieces for me, but
Yeah, same thing. I think we haven't seen a dime from any of the campaigns. Everything went right back into production or paying the colorist, or with Cast the Crazies, it was paying the artist.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I tell everyone, my business plan is simple. I do the comic books, and the comic books, when you get them current state, they're limited edition. They're limited. If you have the Jade Gonzalez covers, they're going to be limited to 250 copies. The Donnie covers, I limited those to 500. Once I'm done with those, that's it. Those books are signed and numbered by hand, and that's it. There's no more. I won't be reproducing them in that format again.
Right.
In the future, what I'm looking to do is reproducing them in color, right? Getting the pages all colored up, and that's expensive. You've been there. You know how it is.
Yep.
Get them colored and then re-release them in color, and then eventually, put out trades of those, and then eventually, maybe go into the larger market, go into like Diamond or Lunar, and hopefully get into the bigger market, and then that will be, the cycle. As it is for now for Oswald, and that's how I do most of my books. So even Tall Tales, eventually we're hopefully going to move that into color at some point.
Now that you have it collected, have you ever considered a third party, a publisher, to take up the mantle?
Again, that's third phase. That's like the final phase of his growth. So it's black and white comics, trade paperbacks, color comics, color trade paperbacks, and then onto the that sort of thing. Again, it would have to be a good deal, right. And it depends which publisher. It depends on the publisher and the deal, because you hear a lot of these guys, they say, oh yeah, it's 50-50, and whatever deal comes from Netflix or this, that, and the other thing, I get half of that too. And you're like, half of that for what? What are you going to do for me?
Yes.
Print the books?
Right.
No, I can print the books myself. Right? See, that's the problem. You understand? There's some companies that do an 80-20 split, which is fair. 70-30, I think, is also very fair. That's what I grew up with in the 80s and 90s. It was usually 70-30. But they didn't take any rights. You understand? They didn't want any of the rights. They were just like, nah, whatever you get on the side, that's all you. So that's where I have a little bit of an issue when people start, when these publishers come in and says, oh yeah, and if I don't know, Fruit Loops comes up to you and they want to put you on their boxes. I get the same cut, and you're just like, for what?
Right.
Right? Are you going to negotiate that deal for me? Yeah. And even then, I think top line managers, the most they get, I think, is 10%. Right? Or an agent.
An agent's usually 10 to 15. Yeah.
Right. 10 to 15%.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm going to give you half, or even 20% or 30% for doing what?
Right.
I says, are you gonna guarantee that I sell 20,000 copies? If you can guarantee me 20,000 copies sold, all right, we'll do that. You understand? But you got to guarantee that.
Right.
And it's like, and it's gonna end up being like.
But some licensing agents, okay, we ran into that. Well, they the first time we were pitching our stuff to agencies, big time agencies, one of them wanted everything, all the rights, and I was like, oh hell no, and they wanted to give me 10%. I was like, wait, how does this relationship work? And they were a global licensing agency, but I'm like, no, because I'm a nobody, you think that you can just take advantage? It's not gonna happen. I said, we're done with this conversation. I'm out. And and that's why you have to really be careful. And when you have a brand and you start getting people coming to you, that's when you really need to seek advice, legal advice.
Mm-hmm. Well, because here's the thing, though. When they're offering you that type of deal, they already know they're going to make money on it.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing. If they're offering you that type of deal, they know they're going to make money on it, and they're looking to cut you out of as much of it as possible.
Yeah.
Right? And then the thing is you said, oh, yeah, we're going to give you 10%. 10% of what?
Right.
10% of the net?
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting 10% of the net, you just might as well just give it to them. Just sign it away. Just take the property. It's yours for free.
Yeah.
All right? Because if it's not gross, you're not getting jack.
Yeah.
Right?
Because they're going to say, oh, we had operating costs and production costs and advertising costs and personnel costs and trade show costs. Yeah. And but by the time it comes down, they gave you a slice of pizza.
Right. If even that.
Yeah.
So the thing is and then also is this. If they're offering you that type of deal, they're just looking to screw you. So you should walk away. Or you explain to them, look, I know you're gonna make money on this. I want 80%. And then you negotiate from there.
Yeah.
You understand? If they really want it, you'll get 50%. Mm-hmm. Gross. And that's the thing. And that's where you really have to negotiate hard. But sometimes it's just better to walk away because it's just going to be a lot of headaches. And then there's accounting issues. Can you trust these people?
Right.
What's their track record like?
Right.
You got to go talk to some of their former clients. Do these people do right by you? So
you got to be able to. You have to be able to have a third party audit their books.
Right.
Whether it's quarterly or semi-annually, just to make sure that everything's on the up and up.
Right. And another piece of advice is, whenever you get into bed with anyone, be sure you vet them and vet them hard. Because, it's sometimes like, you might think somebody, you don't, and it's really sad when it gets down to that,
Yeah.
But just vet them hard, and the thing is, you gotta let people know it's nothing personal.
No, it's business. Remember, this is your life's work, and you got to treat it as such. And because that again, you're dealing with self-interest, and everyone has an agenda. You just got to make sure that your agenda is met.
Exactly.
Nita says 50-50. Nah, go screw yourself. They better have skin some knees too. Gil just joined. Gil Rodriguez. And Ray Felix says not even. He got screwed by Arsenal Pulp for $13K. No bueno, no bueno, no bueno. They broke their contract after selling by the gangbusters. And Anita says, ask. I just say, the way I do it is I say, this is what I'm looking for. If this is what you're able to offer, then we can start the conversation there. I'm not looking to go beyond this. But I'm also flexible, 10, no more than 10 to 20%. I'm good. But unless it's like a major production company that's looking to produce the movie and licensing it out and all that other stuff, then now we're talking. We can flex a little more. If you're willing to do all of that stuff, then it's one-stop shop. But if you're just a publisher and somebody approaches you because they like the title, all you did was print the book. You have no ties to this other than publishing. Stick to that. I will get a lawyer to deal with the other stuff.
Right. Because I had at least two people approach me, and one guy was like, yeah, he says, I really like this title, blah blah blah. He says, yeah, I could sign you out 50%, and I was just I laughed, and I was like, 50% of what? And he was like, 50% of ownership. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, let me think about that. And then he sends me an email with the same proposal, and I just laughed and deleted it.
Yeah, I had the same thing, and they kept coming back and kept coming back, and I was like, look, my decision's final. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Right. That's it. You know, sometimes it just has to be that way. It just has to be like, look, man, we're done. You know.
Yeah.
I don't need you.
Yeah, I think desperation, sometimes people make poor decisions and they live to regret. It happens in the music business, happens in the publishing industry. People are so desperate to get their name out there that they're willing to sell the rights to everything because they say, well, I can create something else, right? Might not have the same impact. You might have just sold the biggest thing you'll ever create in your life, and now you're just watching the sidelines and saying, that was mine. While somebody else is sipping on margaritas and having escargot. And you're over there with that pepperoni slice at the 99-cent pizza store, right?
I mean, the only other thing I can say for that 10% deal is this: if they're offering you a huge upfront sum of cash, and when I say a sum of cash, I mean the type of cash where it'll change your life, where you can say, okay, I'm gonna quit my day job, and I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take 10%. And the other thing I would throw in there with them is that they can have their version of the character, kind of like what Mike Mignola has with Hellboy and Guillermo del Toro, right?
Right.
They have their character, their version of that character. They can do whatever they want. They can merchandise it, however the hell they want to do it. That's all over there. But Mike Mignola does whatever he wants with his version. He can merchandise it however he wants. Very similar to what the Turtle guys were doing for a long time.
Right.
They would be like, okay, you guys can do whatever you want, but we still have our Turtles. And I think Laird, even after selling it for like $20 or $30 million, still kept in the contract that he could do up to 13 comics a year of his own, of the Turtles, for as long as, I guess, he's alive, so that's where we get, The Last Ronin?
Right.
From the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because they're doing that, And I mean, I'm like, good on him. And that's the type, if it was that type of deal, huge sum of money, plus 10%, and you keep doing what you want to do separately.
Right.
You know what? I would definitely consider that. But if they just offer you just 10% and they want everything,
and
you don't get to, no.
And you can't, and they don't even buy you groceries. Welcome, Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. Came for the radio, is in the house. He says, be like Dave Chappelle, walk away when it's a bad deal. He says, JD is talking Disney money. That's right. And Nita says, $1 million, you do what you want, and I still do my thing. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I said you got to be able to come to the table with just your terms. There should be a briefcase that you're handing over that's filled, not an empty briefcase. You should be here. This is yours. This is what we're offering. Go and take a vacation. We'll take it from here, and we'll send you your royalty checks. Boom. Yep. So
Sam, I know you work out, right? I know you work out, right? I haven't worked out in a minute, but I used to. I'm gonna have to get back into it. I don't believe in briefcases. I believe in trunks. Okay? Nice big steel trunk.
Yes. I'm looking up there, a briefcase with gold bars.
Okay. There you go. No, cat. Well, it depends. It depends on how much they're worth an ounce, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, gold is a premium right now.
Is it? I haven't looked at it. I haven't looked at it in a while.
Yes.
Was it?
No, Nita says, which if you haven't been reading, I totally recommend it. No, I think that's the biggest thing. I think one thing that we learned when we did Licensing Expo and that really holds true to today was while we were novices in this whole licensing game and, we were, grandiose aspirations and we realized that if you don't have the right representation, you can get taken advantage of. And because of the way I grew up, I can smell a wolf in sheep's clothing. I can smell the BS when it's coming my way. So I remember, and George could attest to this, and so can Johnny Boy. We got invited to, they're a global licensing organization, major brands, and so we get invited to their booth. Now the booth is like probably about 2,000 square feet, right? And they have individual tables and chairs where they meet with individual licensees, right, and their agents, and then they have this big conference room in the back, and they had their own section where they eat in a cafeteria that was all walls. They had walls and doors. It would look like a big ass complex, right? So we get invited, and we're sitting down, and one of the guys, he's like a top guy, and he's there. We're watching them eat. I'm like, yo, are you invited us to talk about what's going on? So he's like, so he starts talking about all the brands and how and their valuation and all this other stuff. And I'm like, all right, cool. When are we going to talk about the stuff that we're here for? So then that's when he started doing that thing. He goes, what are you guys looking for? And I was like, we want to license my products, blah, blah, blah. He goes, we're interested in your product, but we want to own it and we want to give you 10%. And I'm listening. It's like, blah, blah, blah. And we can do this, that, but we're going to own it. And I was like, and we could do whatever we want with it. All the things I didn't want to hear. So I'm sitting there and, George looking at me, I'm looking at George, and I'm like, all right, I need to get up from the seat and walk away. That's all I had with the red flags. It's like, I was very impressed by all the flash and the glitz and all the suits and this whole thing, but I was like, I wasn't desperate. So I was like, all right, I said, thank you. You gave us a lot to think about. Have a nice day. And I left. Came back and followed us. So what do you think? Blah, blah, blah. I said, we're still thinking about it. And then I think at the end of the expo, I told him no. Followed us to San Diego Comic-Con. They still came up to the booth. They were still trying to pitch that same deal. I said, no, your deal is thievery. You're trying to take everything I've created and I get nothing from it. No. I said, but I thought it was interesting that they followed us. Where the deal that I had with Circle of Confusion, who represents Robert Kirkman and the Wachowski brothers and all that stuff, was they get 10% if they get us the deal. Right? And so, and I own all the rights and I walk away if nothing happens and I walk away with my stuff, whatever. And they were the ones who were guiding us throughout the process of what to avoid, because we had international licensing brands that wanted to pick us up and they said, no, stick with domestic and then work your way out. I said, because they can also try to rip your ideas off. You'd rather stay domestically first. So, and those are the things that I'm saying. You need somebody who has that experience in the game that's going to be able to provide you with some good guidance. And it helped me learn. So, with a brand that you worked on for a couple of decades, you want to make sure that you take care of it and that, and it's nurtured and someone has your best interest at heart. It says, Mark says, I'll take an envelope with a blank check. It's a visible ink. And Nita says, yes, that street life growing up taught me well, and the rest I learned from the stuff I was introduced to my first year in Indies, the pricks. But I'll use that word instead. I'm gonna put hot sauce in your mouth. So that's what my mom used to do to me when I was a kid. Hot sauce. I said something stupid. Oh man. But So obviously, your goal is to expand it, get it into the right hands. You said that it's in stages. So how many years out do you think you'll be in that third stage?
Now, we're talking about getting it in color?
No, color. Color. But then you said
next year.
You said the third stage, the final stage was the publishing.
Hopefully, sometime next year, but like late next year, like this time next year, probably.
She's too pure. She's so funny. Hold on, Nita. I'm gonna put on the TV image just for you, so you can do your thing. Here it is. Boom. There it is. But your audiences. There. So. So you say how many years out?
Hopefully next year.
Next year,
about this time next year.
Look at that.
We'll go
the way you made it seem, it sounded like it was far out. So that's very close.
No, well, you got to. I mean, like I said, there's stages and there are multiple stages, right? Because we're working on Oswald now, and what I'm working towards is finishing the story, right? So I'm literally almost done with the last story in the series, because there is an ending. Right. But it's going to probably take me another 10 years to get everything illustrated out, because it's that last right? His life is in 3 stages. So he's his first life, which is on the mall. Then he has a second life, which is a dream, and then he has his third life where he's resurrected.
Right.
So, I'm working on the third life, and I think it's about 8 stories. But when I say stories, it's not individual issues. We're talking about each one is probably going to range anywhere from 4 to 8 issues. You know, I think one of them might be 10 issues long. So we might be looking at another 30 comics, you know, right there. So yeah.
Wow.
And you know, and they take a while to get done. You know, Jade, you know, she's producing 2 pages a week for me, right? It's about 100 pages a year roughly, right? So a 200-page story takes 2 years. So, you know, it takes a while.
Wow.
You know,
So yeah.
yeah.
So she says, JD is go. He mentions launching. Then the next morning, his campaign is live. Yeah. So how many
Yes.
how many artists do you have working on the project simultaneously?
Right now, 2. Because I have Jade and I have Arenio. And that's why, like I said, I need revenue so I can hire more people.
Right.
So that I can get these stories out even quicker.
So ideally,
'cause
with
I-
this campaign, how much would you like to raise?
Oh, well, you know, sky's the limit, obviously. But I was my main goal was always like 5K.
Right.
You know, I set it for 1,500. We met that goal. We're at about 22, almost at 2,300. By the way, it's looking. If I can get to 35.4, I'll be happy or lucky at this point. But yeah, that's roughly where I'm hoping to get to. But you know, it's one of those things. It's a challenge. You know, it's always a challenge. You know, like I said, you want to feed a starving artist, support this campaign. Because trust me, I'm paying starving artists.
Yes, absolutely.
You know.
So here now you have a captivated audience. What's your elevator pitch? Why Oswald Chronicles? Why the graphic novel?
Well, it's the greatest mouse adventure going today. That's it.
That was it. That was it.
I'm just messing with you. No, I mean, the Oswald Chronicles, it's the life and times of Oswald. Imagine what would happen if the greatest sorcerer of our time was reborn in the body, or was born in the body of a mouse. Right. So that's the basic elevator pitch.
Right.
You know.
Sorry. I do this
I
every
don't know
time.
if you know this. I hate elevator pitches.
Oh, do you? Why?
I know it's made to distill down a concept into just a few words, right? It's the elevator pitch. You're really getting into the elevator, you know, pitching your idea, right? So you got to distill it down to those few words, but it leaves out so much nuance. It's not even funny, right?
Yeah.
But I know.
It's a tough part. I think you know, people get crazy with the, you know, if you can do it in a minute or under. I think that's just ridiculous. I think, you know, because it puts too much unnecessary pressure on the creative to try to sell an idea in a minute or less. You know, it sounds great in theory, but ideally you need at least 5 minutes to be able to get somebody's ear and interest, to provide enough of key information that's going to cause the person to ask a question. That's what you want. You want somebody to ask a question. You know, the worst thing you could do is if you give an elevator pitch that's a minute or under and they go, oh, cool, thanks, and they walk away. Like, son of a.
Right.
Son of a. No. So that's why I think ideally a good elevator pitch is something where it's, you know, at least 3 to 5 minutes where you can really gauge the person and really tell the story, do justice for your product. And it's hard to do that in under a minute.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and that's why, you know, it's funny. Like, I hate doing elevator pitches. They're so short, right? Then everybody tells you to keep you blanked out for a minute. Were you talking about the video?
Yeah.
So everybody tells you to keep it under a minute, right? For the video.
Yes, I know.
Right. That I can do easily.
Yeah, the video, from the first campaign that we launched for Cast and Crazy, which was like 2 minutes or whatever, 3 minutes. It was 3 minutes, and then we got a lot of flack for that. So
Right.
you know, I'm bringing it down to a minute. So I think this one's like a minute and like 5 seconds or whatever. But it's different when you're trying to convince another human being, you know, verbally on your life's work. Basically, that's basically what it is. How do you tell your life's work in under a minute? That's just ridiculous.
Right.
You know, so I think that's where. But I mean, unless you've mastered the art of clickbaiting, I think that's what it is, right? Get that hook and that tagline. That's important.
The issue that we run across is that we're not selling books that have ladies with large endowments, on the covers, right? We're not selling a lot of, TNA. We're not selling poorly considered 90s pistache superhero comics. We're trying to sell things that are fantasy based, unique ideas, things we would want to read. So sometimes, that stuff gets shunted to the side because they're just like, well, I just want to look at stuff that I recognize, right? Because that's a lot of it. That's why you see a lot of homage covers, right? They're like, oh yeah, I did an homage cover of Spider-Man 300. You understand why did you do that? Oh, because of Spider-Man 300, right? I may eventually I do have a concept, an idea for Oswald to do an homage cover of a very well-recognized cover. Eventually, we'll see if I can get that done.
Right.
But the thing is, though, is you just see a lot of it, and people back them because they're like, oh, I was a fan of that book,
right?
So I'm gonna pick that up. I get it. But sometimes we're not trained as consumers, as comic book fans. I think we are trained to just pick up what we know. Spider-Man, X-Men, blah, 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 blah. So you see this character that's some weird cipher of Spider-Man or Batman or Spawn or whatever. And you're like, I recognize that. I'll get that because that reminds me of this other thing. Right? Because I guess that's how our brains work. Oh, it's something new. That's scary. Right? So it's scary. So you step back. Right? Or it's just, some chick, dressed scantily clad chick, just posing for you, which is fine, but
and I get everything is cyclical, right? So when I think of Oswald Chronicles, I think of the time that we're in. Mm-hmm. So we're in a very controversial time. We're in a time where everyone's looking for controversy or projects that represent diversity or projects that go against the norm because people want things to talk about. Or sex. Sex is the big thing right now. I've never heard the term Pornhub as much as it's all over. Everyone's saying it. You put on a podcast, they talk porn. So it's like sex is what's selling, and so people gravitate to use those hooks to try to get an audience. I think I think Oswald Chronicles. Prior to this crazy 8 years would be at $30,000-$40,000 without all what's happening right now. I think, but everyone's looking. That's why you see the titles that they're using, known fairy tale titles or known whatever as hook phrases. Like Sharknado. But I think as long as you've been weathering the storm and you've been holding true and you've been cultivating a good fan base, I think that's the one thing you have to hold your head high to. Gilbert says, I have nothing against homage cover, but it's like the book it's on doesn't have its own identity. Yeah, and I think I think the biggest thing is homage cover. If it's a variant as a bonus cover, yes. But if it's your primary cover, don't do it. Where's your audio? You can't hear me? I can hear you. I can't hear you. What do you mean you can't hear me? Can you guys hear me out there? Huh? I can't hear you. Your mic looks fine on my end. Yeah, I'm good, but I can't hear you, JD. What did you do? Did you pull your cord out? Is your cord out? Rookies. This is what I get when I'm dealing with rookies. So while he's trying to figure that out, Oswald Chronicles is on Kickstarter right now. He's got 55 backers. How do we get him to his goal of 100 backers while he's trying to figure out technology? This is what happens, right? He's from the Stone Age. Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. Huh? And so if you haven't pledged already, I think he backed out. I got to move this out of my face because I think he's going to try to get back in. Here it is. Move this out the way. Move. Get out the way. Let me get all these things out of my face. Boom, boom. And then I'll leave the forbidden there. But yeah, check out Oswald Chronicles. This is decades in the making. This brother's been one of the hardest working cats in the comic game. Good friend of mine. Check out Oswald Chronicles if you haven't done so already. It's really good. I started out reading Oswald with the prose when he first was writing them. I have every issue of the original prose in my collection. Really good writer. Has an eye for talent. He hires the best in the industry. I mean, the work that they do in the books is just outstanding. And let me hide this for a second. Bang. And hide this. I don't know if he's coming back. I don't know. I'm just gonna hang up for a minute, see if he's coming back. These old folk, they don't know how to use technology anymore. What's up with that? But yeah, I mean, he's got some really great stuff. If you haven't checked it out, the link is in the profile. It's in the summary. It's also in the chat. And give it a shot if you haven't. Everyone's giving every big. I noticed. Marvel licensed a tabletop game to a third-party company who's creating the game. They launched that game on Kickstarter and raised over $1 million. So all the big names are taking over. So show some love for the little guys. I blame Zoom. They just like San Diego Comic-Con. It started off with the little guys, and now it's a Hollywood event, and the little guys got pushed to the side. Same thing with New York Comic-Con. Same thing's happening in crowdfunding. All the big boys are taking over. So if you're out there and you got that $5 for a Starbucks latte, check out Oswald. Get a PDF. If you don't want to get the physical, get the PDF. Same thing on Forbidden. If you don't want to, get the physical copies of issue 3 or the graphic novel, get the digital copies. You can get the first 3 issues on digital, or you can get 1 issue on digital. But it's the cost of a cup of coffee or that glazed donut at Dunkin' Donuts. You have to expect to flock to the bigger companies. It's always out there, whereas the indie stuff is hard to get in front of people. Yeah, it is. It's always been that way. And so we got to work harder and harder and harder to get the word out. And it doesn't make it easy when the algorithms are constantly changing, and people are afraid to take chances on something that they don't know, that's not familiar to them. So how do we convince those people to take a risk with what we do? And I think networking is huge. Using companies like Nita and Meredith to help get your campaigns funded. They provide services. If you go to their pages and DM them, and you can find out some more information about what they do. But it's hard. But you need to network. You need to get in front of the fans. I think as creators, we assume that by being in the same groups as our fellow indies, that's going to make a difference. What's going to make the difference is finding out where the actual consumers are hanging out and reaching them. And that's the difficult part. And because you don't want to be spamming, you have to engage and you have to participate in the conversations and the chats. And that's an investment on your time. So if you took an hour a day to go to those groups where it's all fan-based and engage them on topics and talk about, the books that they love and all that stuff, the goal is hopefully that they'll see that you have your branded logo and they go, what is that? What do you do? And then you go from there. So with that said, obviously JD Calderon can't figure out Zoom. I just want to say thank you to Nita and Gilbert and Mark Torres and Ray Felix and Pops, all for joining and supporting my brother JD Calderon. Again, let's get him to 100 backers. He has 10 days. I know we can do it. We just had a guest on our show. He had only a couple of days left, and he was at $900, and his goal was $2,000, and he made it. And so because he went out there and he's grinding, and he was going on as many shows as possible. So thank you for stopping in and choosing Catch the Craze. If you like this episode, please give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Reach out to movie buffs, gamers, fans of the big two. Expand your network constantly. I agree 100%. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment below. Hit that link. I'm Sam the Crazy Man Vera. And this was another episode of Catch the Craze with JD Calderon. I'm out. Peace.
It's just easy. It's not.
Crazy. Acquiesce. No, I was talking about my friend Acquiesce. I met him. Say my name. Say my name. Right?
This is what you were thinking? Oh, my.
He described me. He said, I'm the idiot.
What? Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze. You are listening to Catch the Craze. Catch the Craze. You're listening to Catch the Craze.